Also find out on top of that you all went and did a $7 million project in the East Knoxville community and excluded the one black contractor you had on the entire contract. And then when it came back down for vote for you guys, to find out that the members that's supposed to be representing the minority community and represent the East Knoxville community did not protect that black business and kept them on that contract shows what is the problem from the get-go. We are sick of having spineless leaders. You are supposed to protect your community. $7 million project for a black neighborhood and not a single black business involved. What a slap in the face to the community and our representation. Did I get you in that? Yeah. Let me try to get my boy on.
Hey, yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's your boy Chad Rod. We back, baby. Hey, this is the hashtag I Am Who I Am podcast. Mm-hmm. This is episode 41.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to come down here to Sleeves4Needs because right now we are in an emergency, especially with politics and lives and just the human race in general, especially here in the United States. It's getting kind of humorous almost. It's almost getting funny how stuff is getting spread around and nobody's helping anybody. But I came to somebody with some answers and some solutions, and she's gonna educate us today and let us know about her thing. And actually, introduce yourself to the people.
Yes, thank you so much. So my name is Constance. I founded two nonprofits found locally right here in Knoxville, Tennessee. What's up, my boy Ivory? I see you. Yo, what's goody, fam? Some of my people coming up on the Instagram live feed. But I founded Sleeves4Needs, which is a 501c3 nonprofit social service organization. And then I found our sister org, BlackCoffee, which is a 501c4 social justice organization. The two organizations work hand in hand together. Yeah. It's pretty obvious Sleeves4Needs is the forefront, on the ground zero frontline worker. It's where we do our social services such as food, housing necessities, transportation, clothing, personal hygiene products, getting people IDs, paying gas for moms so that they can get back and forth to their jobs, putting our homeless veterans in hotels sometimes over the weekend so that they can get a break and, get relief from off the streets. I think it's a shame we live in a country where our veterans are the top number of homelessness. And then, we do other things like we assist the elderly and disabled. We do free lawn care services all summer long where they don't have to worry about cutting their grass or trying to come up with the resources of trying to force them to pay for their pay for their grass because, normally they live on fixed incomes. Right. And then on the flip side, BlackCoffee is the side that is the social justice. That's the side of us that goes advocates and fights and tells the local officials from the local government all the way up to our federal government the needs and necessities of the people. Like one of the things we're dealing with tonight in our city, which is our budget. That's BlackCoffee that's on the mic and saying, hey, instead of putting $58 million to the police department, let's take half of that budget and put it towards our houseless. We have 10,000 plus homeless people here. Yeah. I think that we could be much more resourceful with our money than that.
So in Knoxville, Tennessee, we have 10,000 plus homeless?
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that. Today was the first time I came from Alcoa. Mm-hmm. That's the first time I've seen anybody under the interstate bridge. Tonight was the first time.
Really?
In Alcoa.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of strange on my way here. I was like, wow, I've never seen that before. So talk to me about that. That's crazy. I didn't realize it was that much homeless.
The thing is that the city of Knoxville has had a homeless problem. It's very aware. This past year, UTK, they played BYU. Yep. And then, normally when UTK is football, the fellow teams come in and participate in tailgating. But the BYU fans, because we have such a prevalent homeless problem, they spent their tailgating time helping our homeless. They came out here and fed them. They came out here and clothed them. They came out here and hydrated them. And shout out to BYU. You deserve that victory because after they basically won our streets, they went and won the game. Obviously you do good. It comes back to you. But that just shows how prevalent the problem really is, that a whole visiting team that lives nowhere near our city or our state was aware that we had a homeless problem and made a commitment as their fanship to come help us. Honestly, it's embarrassing for Knoxville because it says that we are so displaced and so ignoring our issue with that particular matter that the visitors of our football teams are more concerned with our homeless than we are. And the reality is that they just have not done their part. You know, we have CARM, who has been down there for years, supposed to be helping homeless. We have Salvation Army, who's supposed to be under the bridge helping for years with the homeless. And then, you know, we have VMC, who also has been supposed to be down there for years helping with the homeless. And yet, under these three organizations' watchful eye, our homeless problem has gotten worse, not better. Last year, CARM raked in $18 million in their nonprofit revenue. The question is, where is $18 million reflection of work and service? And the answer is none, because there's no way you got $18 million and 10,000 plus homeless people at the same time.
Right.
And so that's just the truth. The reality is that no one is caring. People are profiting from homelessness, not actually helping it.
Wow. So as a voter, you know, as being, you know, a guy that would like to help the homeless, or a guy that would like to help, you know, the minorities and stuff like that, help me with my vote. Because right now I'm thinking, when I'm seeing people running, I'm thinking that's where the money's going. Just on the outside looking in, I'm thinking it's going towards homeless and feeding the poor and, you know, creating jobs and small businesses and stuff like that. With you saying all that, it makes me feel like that maybe we missed it or dropped the ball in a couple places, as far as especially helping, you know, the homeless and the less fortunate. Because I would think Knoxville is like a home small town. You would think it would be, you know.
Well, Knoxville has grown quite a bit. First off, Knoxville, when I was a child, I think we were around 40 to 30,000 people population.
Gotcha.
And now we are like around 150 plus population.
Wow. So
yeah, Knox County as a whole, we're almost at 500,000 people here, period. So we have definitely grown quite a bit from what some of us may think.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the critical factor as a voter, as I tell people all the time, you have to get to know these candidates and their platforms that they stand for. You know, especially for the Black community. Too many times we have politicians come and patronize our community for votes. They make a lot of great promises. We're going to get you public transportation over here. We're going to put a park up so your kids can run around and play too.
They put them up too. I've seen them everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Or we're going to get you affordable housing. And that's how it goes. You know, they'll pick out of the 5 or 6 things they promise the easiest or least resistant one, and they'll do it. And then that's their way of saying, we kept our promise to you, so we earned that vote. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. I think Diddy, Killer Mike, and several other, you know, some of our more of our conscious entertainers have came forward and said that the Black vote is no longer for sale, meaning that you're not going to be able to just keep making empty promises to our communities and saying what you're going to do to help and assist us, when in reality you're only there to get the Black vote. Because in historically proven to this day, no candidate can win an election without the Black vote, local, state, or federal. You need the Black vote as a candidate to win. And so that's why we have to stop allowing our vote to be so easily patronized by these candidates. You know, one of the first times ever for me, which is Matthew Park, who I have endorsed under my BlackCoffee organization, he's one of the first candidates I've ever heard in my life besides Mike Bloomberg, which that kind of got destroyed because he found out to be a racist in the end. But he's one of the only first candidates ever in the political realm of any platform I've ever heard say, I have a Black agenda. And that's bold to do as a candidate, because most politicians shy away from the word Black or Black issue period as a whole, because they know that even though we are one of the most critical pieces of a vote, we are the least populated at the same time. And so if I'm a candidate running, I might get nervous saying Black because I know there's not enough Black voters to push me into office. I'm going to need some of them white votes. I'm going to need some of them Latino votes. You know, I'm going to need some of those other voting constituents to help get me in office. But at the same time, you can't win office without us. So it's like you ride a fine line as a politician. And that's why I tell, you know, people that are in all demographics, all different socioeconomic classes, the critical thing is to get to know these candidates and come to these events, or, you know, when they have their, right now, you know, we're doing a lot of online, but when they're online, ask those hard questions. Hey, I'm homeless. I live down here underneath the bridge. I've been down here for years. You know, this is what's going on with my lifestyle. This is what I'm dealing with. What are you going to do about it? Like, seriously, what are you going to do about it?
Well, okay. So speaking to that, so on the last podcast I had, I was talking about, you know, how Donald Trump is probably the first president in a long time to help the working class as far as giving them checks. You know, not the small businesses, not them, but he's actually giving the people making anywhere from $50,000 to $150,000 a year. He's handing them, basically, that's what the stimulus is.
Are you serious? You really think that's what he's doing?
Well, so talk to me. So, because I don't want to misspeak, and I don't want it to be left in the hashtag I am well. Because,
okay.
Well, so
let's just be honest about that. Trump is not helping the working class at all. Okay, not at all. And
Okay.
I think it's proven with the way the coronavirus response is getting handled.
Okay.
If you really was worried about the working class right now, then we would have the same stimulus programs as our neighbors in Canada, where they're giving their people like $8,500 a month to maintain their sales. Or overseas in Europe, where they're doing roughly about the same thing. They're more like around $6,000 a month in resources and services for their people. So Trump is not in the business of helping the working class at all.
Wow. Because
That's not a true statement.
Okay, cool. Because on the outside looking in, it seems like he's hitting a lick. You know the term, like rob the rich to give to the poor, and it's what he seems like he's helping himself. But he's like, hey, I just hit for $50 million, kind of like your corporations do. Hey, I'm making $1 billion a year. Here's $25,000 a year to keep working and building it. That's what it feels like to me. He's like a corporate type of style president. What do you?
Oh yeah, Trump is definitely a businessman. He's been running America like a business for forever.
Okay.
Now the irony is that actually America is a business.
It is.
It is. America is a corporation. Like people need to go look up what is it I want to say it's like the 1874 Act or something like that, where America gave up its countryship for a corporationship. Which we are under British rule and control. See, a lot of people don't know nothing about that. If you're not doing your research and your history and your fact checking, you don't know a lot of things. America's not a country. We're actually a United States of Corporation of America. Did you know that when you die, your birth certificate is a cash in for $1 million payout to the federal government?
I heard that.
Oh no, it's not no heard to. It's true. Wow. It's true. Take out your birth certificate card. On the back side, there's a number on every last one of those. Put that number into Google and it'll pop up your basically identification number for the system. You are a $1 million cash out. You are a whole, your whole insurance policy. That's literally what it is. You are an insurance policy, literally. So you are a member of the corporation. Wow. What do you think a social security number is?
Well, I thought it was your identification.
It is, but it's your insurance policy identification. Wow. You are on money.
That's why it's so important.
Yes, it's critical. That's why they want to know everything you're doing, because that's how they track everything you're doing. Wow. So understand that from the get-go. And then honestly, with all sincerity, Trump to me is not in all, like I tell you all the time, Trump is a billionaire.
Yeah.
His concerns are not with anybody that makes less than $1 billion.
No.
Period.
Thank you. That's what I've
And
always
so the thing about Trump is that everything he does do is in the interest of business and his business partners and his wealth and his economical growth.
Yeah.
That's why I said if you look at coronavirus, the way he's handling it, I think it's pretty clear that his interest is not for the working class. Because if that's the case, number one, Obama left you a pandemic plan already put together, ready to go.
Right.
You toss it out the window.
Right.
Then you get briefed, since what we have been so far with the continued, truth leaks is what I call it, because, news media is put out all over the place. Everybody, me and you are doing what could be considered a news podcast right now. And so everybody's putting information out. Yeah. But then there's the difference between government media control versus like I went and did some research and I found out the facts and I'm telling the truth control. Because, I think that's why internet is trying to be regulated. Because right now you can't. I can go and say whatever I want and no one can say anything about it. Right, so that's why I think government is trying to find a way to regulate internet, because a lot of truth is released across the internet. And so the reality is that when you have people like Trump in office, who we found out basically may have known ever since the beginning of last year about this potential virus and its pandemic capability.
So did you see where it was signed? The stimulus package bill was signed in January of 19?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He knew some time ago, but he ignored it. And I think it's even proven farther that there was some type of heads up to what we were dealing with, because the simple fact you had numerous politicians basically break laws of what is considered our Securities and Exchange Commission's rules, which is that they had heavy stock investments in these different fields of different businesses and interests. And then when we get to the first of this year, all suddenly they just dump all that stock and go in heavy interest into medical supplies, medical equipment, medical stuff, period. So that's inside trading now. So the question is, what did you all know for some time now that you didn't tell the public, or even better, even worse, did not prepare the public for? Right. Maybe because you were underestimating of its capability. And so you allow this come into our communities and our cities and our states and our whole country. And then you're not prepared to deal with this pandemic, and it shuts down your economy. Now people like Trump are worried because now their pockets are being affected. See, the bottom has to work for the top to make money. It's not flowing how it's supposed to. It should be coming from the top down, but they want to suck from the bottom all the way back up to the top. And so now what you're having is where you see billionaire corporate heads saying, whoa, we're losing millions by the day when that clock is not getting hit by nobody. And so now what we have to do is we have to put our economic commerce before lives. To me, that's where his challenge comes into play. Are you doing this for the working class, or are you doing this for e-commerce and big business? And the answer is the commerce and big business.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, it's always that.
And so that's why I said Trump never does anything for working class.
Gotcha.
He does things because his own pockets have been affected. And so as long as his pockets have been hit, he gonna yell open up the country until he blue in his face, or red or yellow, whatever color he is. He gonna blow his head off about it until it happens, because his own investments, his own money, and his own business partners and investment circle has been affected.
Gotcha. Because it does feel like a cash grab. The whole situation, the whole pandemic, the whole all of that. So I mean, that's interesting that you break it down like that, because I know you get a lot of people that aren't black that feel like they're on Trump's level because they may make $250,000 a year. You see what I'm saying? So they feel like, especially being in East Tennessee, Knoxville area, that's a lot of money around here.
Well, did not Corona reveal that truth? Because as we see now, these same people are in the soup lines with the rest of us.
I still see
they're on my phone calling us saying, can we get help and assistance? And so people, like you said, it's been a harsh reality, even for those that were comfortable have had to learn the harsh truth, that at the end of the day, when you have a government that has no interest in the people, but its own potential gaining wealth in business and affluent and developer corporations and those type of business agendas across the table, meaning our politicians are for sale. Look at the different entities of our government offices. You see places like Big Farm having the say-so over the FDA and what's been prescribed and what's not been prescribed. Well, that's a concern. Why is the big pharmacy telling FDA what to approve and not to approve? Because their action was to tell you what you can approve and not to approve.
True.
Same thing when you look at the USDA and the meat and the produce section. Same thing. Why is it that the meat companies and the big agriculture producers own the USDA? Why are they telling them what they can and can't regulate and make rules for? Again, you have a problem when you got a corporate head telling a security entity of your government how it's going to run and operate. So that clearly states that the agendas of this country are not for the people. It is for big corporation, period. Right. And Trump has basically handed those hands over left and right. I'm concerned about many of his appointments. We just found out recently, what's his name? McMahon from WCW. He wants to make him like the economic advisor now. What deems him qualified to be an economical advisor?
Yeah, only thing is he can make a lot of money. He can sell you a dream quickly.
Yeah, but is he an accountant? Is he a CPA? Has he had any experience of a banker? I mean, for real, where's your credentials that says you are deemed to handle billions of taxpayer dollars? Because that's the key fact. I want people to understand something. Government money is taxpayer money. So guess who money that is? Our money. So it doesn't matter if it's the state, the local, the federal level. When they say they spending government money, that's our money automatically. And so it does put me in great concern when I see government spending our money in the manner that they choose to spend it. Did you know the state of Tennessee last year got $21 billion as just the state? That's nobody else. That was the state of Tennessee getting
21. How many?
Billion. We had $21 billion last year in our budget from the federal government.
So I just saw somewhere Magnolia got $7 million.
Yeah, so we had this facelift.
That's just on one street. Basically.
Yeah, it went from like Magnolia, where Magnolia Hall of Fame meets, and it goes down to Bronner Street or something like that. Okay. It's not far up. It's less than, I would say it's less than 20 blocks, literally, less than 20 blocks.
$7 million.
$7 million. And that's a big concern because, as I expressed in City Council tonight, when you see $7 million drop into one of the poorest areas of your community and you spend it on bricks and sidewalk and mulch and trees, and that's it, like nowhere else does that money go to, that's a total slap in the face of the community, because that says that our needs and our concerns and our wants are not being even heard or understood, or better yet, maybe you do, but you just ignored and did what you want to do. Right. The second big insult to that is, again, like I said, this is for the black community. And the fact that you do not have a single black contractor, single black developer, single black business involved in any part of that process, and this is for the black community, it's almost as if you're okay with gentrifying right in our face. Like, yeah, we're going to gentrify, and we don't care, and we're going to do it right in your face. It's the greatest insult ever. And the bigger concern is that, when you see the council members that sit on these committees and make these votes to approve or disapprove, and they just blindly approve it, it makes you question, well, why are you there? Because the point of you being there is that you're supposed to protect the people from this. You're supposed to catch this type of stuff, say, hey, wait a minute. I'm looking at this $7 million budget. I see it's for East Knoxville community. But when I look at this, I see not a single black business listed and involved in it. And even worse, when I look at it, I see it not going to any type of improvement of the black community other than a facelift for when people are driving down the street. And that's not good enough.
To get them to look at the property to try to buy it from up under the people.
Exactly. That's all it is. You're free gentrifying gaming us. You're saying, oh, look, here's what it can look like. But keep going down and you'll find the properties that you can get to get it to look like this. And then that's the concern of what we're facing as well, because now you start talking about black and poor push out, which is what's already going on. We have watched it happen in Lonsdale. Lonsdale's culprit of their push out is Emerald Youth. You know, they just sat there and gave Emerald Youth the school property for $1, and they built a sports complex on it. Now, the catch is that the sports complex is supposed to stay available and free to the community, but the question is how long, as we already know. How long? And then, you know, we got the old police station that they have now committed to the Clayton family to turn into a museum for this area. But same concept, $1 property and claim it's free for the public, but for how long? And with none of this put into writing, and it's just verbal commitment basically been made with no actual black and white on the paper, that's the problem that we're facing. Because at any day they can walk and say, okay, y'all can't be here no more, or it costs $45 now if you want to come in the door. And who can afford, again, you're in a community that can't afford free as is. So who can afford $45 coming to this building now? So it's just the reality of what we have to, and that goes back to the voter. Again, it always comes back to the voter.
And that's what I was going to ask you next.
Always comes back to the voter.
The black vote. I mean, I know everybody screams it, you know, but how, like, the black vote affecting black laws. So, like, for example, the past week, or I would say the past month, even with all this pandemic stuff going on, I've seen so many, it seems like, just crimes against black men. Like, and it's always like that. Like, I just today watched a video of the guy that got shot down there, Aubrey, down there in Georgia. They showed where 2 years ago he was stopped by the police and harassed. I've been harassed like that several times. Like, I could probably count on my fingers and toes how many times just like that. And as when you're 21, 22, 25 years old, you're going to have a quick temper. You know, as you get older, you kind of like just kind of accept it for what it is. But all I read in the comment sections is how black people are this, and black people need to just behave, and black people need to this. But people get tired of getting harassed and, you know, treated like a criminal when there's no crime being committed. The man said he was just sitting in his car in the middle of the yard rapping or something, you know, which I don't know if that's true or false. But even if he was out there smoking some weed, is that worth all of that commotion, ready to shoot him with a taser or a gun just for that? Is that a crime like that? So what are these? What's going on with the black laws? Is that even a thing? Like, I mean,
yes. I mean, now the black laws are true. You got to go back into the Willie Lynch and Jim Crow era, but the black law was basically like, if you're black, this is what you cannot do. And because, you know, we had the civil rights movement, and, you know, in all honesty, here's where the downfall of the civil rights movement, in my opinion, comes to play. Because one of Martin Luther King's final speeches to the black people, the black nation, was the Burning House speech. He admitted, hey, you know, I thought integration was going to be the answer, guys. I really did. I thought that we were going to get equality, we were going to integrate, we were going to make a difference, we were all going to be considered one and no more of this racism stuff. And then he finds out, no, I made a mistake. Because what really gives us our voice and our position is economical and political power. And that was his final speech to the people. To me, that's the last piece of the blueprint that was left that we have to pick up, which was that we have to look past integration. It's not the answer. The answer is political and economical power, because whoever controls the money controls pretty much everything at that point. And so political power is designed behind controlling that economical wealth. Right. Now, who has that?
Well, we know that.
Exactly. Now, who wrote the Constitution? I tell people all the time, who wrote the Constitution? White male slave owners. So the interest of this country when it was being evolved and developed was never for anybody but white male affluent, period. Including their women. See, that's the crazy part. That's why women's suffrage was such a big deal, because it was one of the first times where you saw black and white women put color to the side and just say, you know what, we're women. And we are sick of being treated subpar, substandard, sub-voice, sub-everything to these idiotic men who act like they know what they're doing. So women's suffrage was an opportunity to see true unification in that concept, because women came together as one and said, no, we as women have a voice. We have a right to. We're not just here to wash your butts and keep food on the table. We're here to do a whole lot more, and we're greater than that. But then you move into the civil rights movement, and one of the things that I find frustrating as a black leader, as a black activist, is that the truth is out there that the black movement has always been pulled to help others. The women's suffrage was the first one, to me, in my opinion, because we were already fighting for civil rights then. Slaves were already rioting, lynches were already happening. A lot of things were already going on with black people then. But the women came in and joined the black movement long enough to gain what they wanted. And then once the women's rights fell down, and everybody got their little amendments and their rights to vote and stuff, they ran out the door again. So, that's back to your black problem. It ain't our problem no more. And they ran out on us, And that's been repeated time and time through history. Why was MLK killed? MLK killed was not because he was in Memphis trying to, get black people to rally. MLK was in Memphis to get sanitation workers to strike and form a union. And when they saw that, they realized that this powerful man who already marched, who did the first ever million man march to D.C., and it was by accident. It wasn't designed. He wasn't trying to march 1 million people up there. The goal was only 100,000 people. People just heard him coming through and started hopping on with him and walked all the way up there to D.C. with him. And them white politicians up there in D.C. didn't think Martin Luther King could even get 2 people there. He showed up with 1 million people. So you better believe that day that he gave the I Have a Dream speech, he freaked them out because they didn't think he even had the capability. And when they saw that, they realized this man is too powerful. Yeah. He's going to be able to do whatever he wants to do because as long as he got the masses of the people behind him, he has the power. So again, your politicians are petrified of the mass. They don't want the masses to come together because that's their pressure on them. And I keep telling people, you know how many people are in your federal government that make your decisions every day of your life?
How many?
500. 500 people decide what this country is going to be like every single day.
That's about right. So what, 50 states?
Yeah, it's like 50 states. It's like 200 something in the House and 200 so in the Senate. And then you got your president and his various committees and oversights and stuff like that. But altogether, it's 500 people that decide for 7 billion people what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that to me is definitely not proportional to representation at all.
Well, when we were talking before, when we was kind of getting to know each other a little bit before the podcast, you were saying how like your whole goal is to get people in office that have actually been through something.
Correct.
So like has actually, used public transportation.
Correct.
Maybe a single parent home.
Correct.
All those things. So talk to me about that because obviously those 500, I know you may have 1 out of 500 that are from that background. If I was gambling. Currently
right now I know about 5 or 6. That's what we're currently working with right now. Again, the last piece of the blueprint was that we needed political and economical power. Okay. Now, we still in the same position. We need political and economical power. But what I realized is what you just said. We have to change the type of candidates that are up for vote. Because, one of the last rounds of election before Calvin Skinner ran himself, I think he had this guy named Tory Brown on the card.
Okay.
And, Calvin was like, we got to get the black vote. We got to get black people out to support. And I told Calvin the truth. I said, here's the problem with the black vote. I was like, I'm no more willing to vote for one racist candidate for the next. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to have to face in our presidential campaign. And I mean, we are going to face that. Yeah. Joe Biden, to me, is no more less racist than Trump is, to be honest.
I liked Hillary better than Joe Biden. But that's another story.
Exactly. But my point is that's what black people get given.
Yeah.
Our choice is this racist for this racist, and that ain't gonna cut it no more. And so I told Calvin that. I said I don't need just a candidate to vote for. I was like, I need a quality candidate to vote for. Yeah. I was like, I need quality over quantity. I was like, you can line me up 100 cats and say they're running, but out of the 100, how many of them are actually quality for the position? I said, we have to start finding people candidates, and that's what that title. That's what I label it as, people candidates, meaning that these are people, regular people from various different backgrounds, black, white, poor, rich, in between, whatever. But at some point in time, life gave them a struggle. And they had to learn through that struggle, the real deal, whether they were black or white, what that truly means. I have had white people who have been able to admit and recognize the reality of white privilege because when a struggle hit them and they had to start going out to find these helps, and then they started seeing themselves in the buildings with a lot of black and brown people in the room and less of them, and then realizing that even when they were the few whites that are in there, that because they were in that particular environment, white privilege didn't matter no more. They got treated like how we were getting treated now.
Well, so talk to me about that because in the same in the comments when I'm reading stuff, I'll give you an example. A friend of mine sent me a video of Bomani Jones about 4 or 5 years ago. He wore a Caucasian shirt on ESPN. And I read in the comments, a guy said, y'all wouldn't have it if I wore a shirt that said African American. Y'all say I'm racist. And I remember when we were talking, you said there ain't no such thing as a I guess racism for white people.
No, it's not. No, it's no racism for black people.
For black people, that's
it's
what
no
I mean.
racism for black people.
Me.
See, racism is a system of control. Again, political and economical power. So
okay, so slow down for a second, so everybody can understand, because I've always thought racism was the exact definition of prejudice.
We can be prejudiced. We can't be racist.
Okay, so I always
racism
is
a system.
I always thought they were one and the same.
No, they're not.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, go
ahead. Prejudice is a mindset. I don't like you because your hair's short. Yeah. I don't like you because your ears are too big.
That's prejudice.
I don't like you because you're wearing gray shirts. That's prejudice. Racism is, I don't like you because your hair is short and I can control something about that now. Like, I own the business. I own the facility. I own whatever. And so I can be racist to people with short hair. Like, I see you like to work out. So let's say I own a gym. Yeah. And let's say you want to come work out at my gym, but I got a thing for people with short hair. Yeah. So guess what? Because I own this gym, which is my system of control.
Planet Fitness.
Exactly. I can say, you got short hair. You can't work out at my gym. You might be like, well, why not? Like, bro, that's irrelevant. But I'd be like, I don't like your short hair, and this is my system. Wow. So guess what? You can't do what you want to do in my system, because I'm gonna control it where you can't. I'm gonna make it where everywhere you go, if you got short hair, people not gonna give you service. I'll make it everywhere you go. You get on the bus, you got short hair, they're gonna treat you like you shit because you got short hair. I'm gonna make it everywhere you go, everything you do, because you got short hair, and I control the system that can make you be oppressed for that. Anything and everything you do will be a challenge because you got short hair. You want a home loan? Yeah. Guess what? I hold the system that holds the bank. You can't get a bank loan now because you got short hair. So that is racism. Racism says, I control the system of our resources and our economics, and I can make your life a living hell off of that by just flat out saying, because the system's designed for this particular category, this particular ethnicity, that if you try to go into the same system and apply for these same services, because I am racist to black people, you won't be able to get those services, or it'll be an extreme challenge for you to get it. That's racism. And it's not the same.
And see, people, I didn't know that. And I ain't going to speak for everybody, but I'm going to say there's at least 50% of people that look like me and you that didn't know that had no idea.
No.
I mean, what are they saying? Are they saying that they...
No, it's like, that's a lot different. Some people are saying that the Magnolia Project was true. For another homie, my boy Ivory said preach, and some people have joined in and got their little wave hands up and stuff like that. So I mean, these are true things. Like I said, black people can be prejudiced. Black people can be bigots. Black people can be discriminatory. But black people cannot be racist because we don't have a systematic way to oppress you for it.
Man, that's so dope, man.
Yeah.
I did not ever put two and two together like that.
Yeah.
Never. And I've been here, going on 37 years. I never clicked that, but that's just the same propaganda that they feed us. It's like they're training us as these kids, racism.
Oh, yeah.
The blacks and the whites in the same class, the same thing. So we all think we're getting the definition, but they never really...
when white people say that black people are racist, I always laugh at them because, when white people call black people racist, it's normally because of some form of their own privilege has been infringed upon. That's when we become racist. Gotcha. We just watched a bunch of white men run up on Capitol Hills with guns and body armor that made governors of whole states cancel their Capitol Hill meetings and everything else out of fear of being targeted or killed. The irony is that where is the police at?
Yeah, how were they able to do that and get away with that?
Racism. Exactly. Racism, white privilege. Which one do you want? Because it's all on the table right now. Because the difference is that black people, all we got to do is have a sign that says, I just want to be equal, or dang, I want to eat at the shop too. Yeah. And they'll put a whole infantry force out on us and put tear gas and rubber bullets and all kinds of things in the crowd. But these white men show up full battle rattle with guns in their clips, and y'all close Capitol Hill out of fear of safety. Hilarious is what I have to say to that. And the answer to that is racism, period.
Wow, that's deep.
Racism. After the Black Panthers were killed and wiped out, after the Black Panthers were killed and wiped out, we started seeing some of the first true forms of gun control come down. They made several gun laws and several gun amendments after the Black Panthers, because what were the Black Panthers doing? Running around with guns. They were black men with guns. They were.
They looked just like them people on Capitol Hill.
Exactly.
Yeah, but just black.
Exactly. And we saw what they did to them, right? They murdered every last one of them. Meanwhile, all them white men went home and slept in their beds comfortably and came back the next day to do it again.
Wow.
Where's their raise and killing and everything else? Oh, none, because again, we live in a systematic oppression of racism. It's true in its finest form. All you do is open your eyes. It's sitting right there in front of you.
No. That's why I brought it up.
I tell you all the time. All you gotta do is look. Just look. It's sitting right in front of your face. Just look. Literally. Yes.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just scary because I got kids now and raising them, and it's just like I just worry about all this because when I saw the kid get shot with a shotgun on video, and these people were still free, it hit a part of me. And then, did you see the article in the Daily Times, Maryville?
Yeah, the whole running while he's black, basically, and making it be like an Obama and all that stuff.
So that's where I live. And after seeing the shotgun, seeing the physical body drop, like I saw the body hit the ground, and then seeing that my people in my town, my hometown, are for that basically. They say, hey, it's sent from somewhere else, but you wouldn't put that in there if you wasn't for it. So it's just so scary, man, because it's like that's what we're hitting. So how do we get around that with who in the world, because how do we get past these same racist candidates, these same candidates over and over again? How do we get around them to get some that are more open-minded to just life and the way it's going?
Well, number one, to start addressing all the things you're talking about, number one, black people have to accept the fact that white fear mindsets is real. Have you ever been the only black person in a crowd of 10 of like 10 or less white people, and they act like they're petrified of you?
Man, I can go almost a month and not see a black person.
But my point is that what I'm talking about is white fear, though.
Okay.
Have you ever been like the only black person in a small group of white people?
Yes.
And if you haven't noticed, they're petrified of you, though. Like if you got upset, they all get nervous. Like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Wow. Well, the reality is that white fear is real. There's been a lot of propaganda since slave time to current modernization time of feeding white fear. The black man is a threat to your lifestyle. The black man is a threat to your livelihood of your women in your home. The black man is a threat to your economic and socioeconomical status and ability to grow. The black man is a threat to your education. So you got to understand, they have been perpetually fed black fear.
Well, so it's funny you say that because I guess it's today's Malcolm X's birthday.
It is.
So Malcolm
Today,
X,
the great king,
he introduced me to the definition of black and white. Like black is dirty, filthy, scary.
What's the definition of us? Pure, clear, holy, cleansed. All of that. It's true.
Shout out to Malcolm X.
Yeah, it's true.
For, bringing that to a young kid is like I would have never even.
I think that we have to get back to the mind state of Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton, to be honest, and Marcus Garvey too. We have to we have to reconnect to our ancestors and those voices of what they were saying. Stokely Carmichael, aka Patricia LaBamba, he's another great voice to listen to. We have to get back to what these black men were telling us, which was that we know they scared of us, and we know their system. We even know how far they'll go with it. They'll lynch, hang, and kill us. We know the extent they will go to the limits of trying to do harm to us. So the catch is, black people, when are you going to stop being afraid? See, that's the bigger question. When are we going to stop being afraid? Because when you know your enemy, it ain't much to be afraid of. I think one of the quotes is of what Will Smith said, that it was like the difference between fear and it was something else. Yeah. But he was basically saying, fear is your limitation. You can be, he's like, it's the difference between being dangerous and fearful. He was like, danger doesn't mean that it's not to be cautious or not to be aware of. Right. He's like, but fear is the negative emotion and the limitator. You can be in something dangerous and not be afraid. Or you can be in something not dangerous and be petrified out your mind. See the difference?
Yeah.
You could be sitting in this room right now and you could be scared batshit crazy right now. Now the level of harm here is zero.
Yeah.
None, actually. You're in a very low hazard zone right now.
Right.
But let's go to Afghanistan where the danger is very high.
Well, we shooting this podcast. You hearing?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so, those are the differences between the two analogies of what he's saying. And so we are aware of their fear. But are we addressing the reality of our danger? And we're not. Yeah, but that's the difference. Black people are going to have to address the danger that we're in and not be fearful of it at the same time. We are all black. We've all been given the story. When you get pulled over by the police, this is what you got to do to survive the traffic stop. Unfortunately, as we see even in 2020, we're still not surviving traffic stops. But the truth be told, Why do black people have to have a whole different set of code? How we have to walk, how we got to act, how we got to move, how we got to exist, how we got to create? Because we're trying to become equals and be accepted and not be less fear. When I keep saying, nah, throw that out the window. See, that's the problem.
No,
You're being too white comfortable. Don't be white comfortable. Matter of fact, be white uncomfortable. Make them uncomfortable. Because I feel like the only way that they're going to accept us is that they have to understand the fact that we are humans and we're beings as well in existence. Yeah. And that the only way you're not going to deem me a threat is that I'm going to have to basically carry and function myself as if I'm not a threat. Meaning I shouldn't be trying to do things to limit myself. I should be natural and fluid of who I am, and you're just going to have to accept it as it is or not is. You know, you have a choice as a person. Right. But at the end of the day, I don't have to reduce myself in any format to make you comfortable. So black people got to stop doing that. Yeah. Become unapologetic with your presence. Embrace your blackness. It is the beauty of you. You have a skin tone that when you go out in the sun, it produces vitamin D, which improves your immune system. And we're in a pandemic of a virus outbreak. You have the advantage. Why are you being fearful? Do not be fearful. Embrace your skin. And when you have these issues of with white people acting stupid or whatever it may be in their moments, don't become confrontational or stoop to his level. Remain intellectual. Remain the bigger person. And let him know that the only reason why you're uncomfortable or discomfortable comes to the reality of, number one, the system of racism. Number two, the white privilege that you receive in that system. And number three, the system that tells you it's okay for you to feel like you can oppress me because of the design of the racist system that we exist in. Right. But I'm here to let you know, I tolerate none of the above. Right. And if you can't respect me as a person, then we need to part ways from this space and just say that we are going to have to agree to disagree. Yeah, but it should never come to a violent outbreak. And in all honesty, because it is America and you are under the Second Amendment and you are a United States citizen, if it does come to violence, pull out your gun and shoot back and stand your ground in self-defense just like they do.
Well, so that's the whole scary thing I'm saying. So if you flip that whole situation, white man walks out of this house, police calls made, hey, you know, blah, blah, blah. I see him, he's running. Me and you, we chase this white person down. Mm-hmm. We shoot him with the shotgun as is, just like that. The situation is totally different.
Facts, because we have a black and white justice system. Totally yeah, you know, it's true. We have a dual system, and that is why the restoration of the ancestor of Thurgood Marshall must come back. See, I love Thurgood Marshall. Thurgood Marshall is by far will always be my most favorite black attorney of all time. Not saying there wasn't other great ones, but
what's his name? Got OJ.
Oh, Johnny Cochran. I love Johnny, but Johnny knew he was living a lie. That's why he's dead, because I swear it killed him. It killed him, man. Yeah, I swear it killed Johnny. Johnny knew the truth about all of that. But I say Thurgood Marshall because what Thurgood Marshall was great at, what was his real niche was, he was able to take the laws that was written by this land and make them have to come face to face with it. Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't write the law. You did. Your ancestors did. Matter of fact, we didn't even write the laws at all. Your ancestors wrote the law. Now, under the Constitution written in black and white of this law, it says such and such as such and such. So now when we get to court, you're telling me in this very courtroom that upholds this constitutional law, it's state and local law all the same time in this jurisdiction, that now, because of this particular matter of racism on trial, we're going to violate our own constitutional laws. See, they hated Thurgood. Wow. Because he took away he was the loopholer of loopholing laws as well. Because I tell people all the time, for every law, there's a loophole to it. You know it, right? Every last law has a loophole. And what Thurgood Marshall was good at was taking those loopholes out. Like, oh, you done found the loophole? Well, I done found one to cancel that one out. Oh, you got another one? Well, guess what? I'm going to cancel that one out too. And we're still going to be left with just the bare necessity of the law. And when that was put to the table to challenge, not the loopholes, not the games and the gimmicks, not even racism or prejudice, just straight up what the law says, these people found themselves forced to rule in favor of the law. Not in favor of Thurgood Marshall, in favor of the law. He just happened to be on the right side of the law, that when the ruling came down, they were forced to rule in favor of the law. And when the law was put to test, that's how Thurgood was winning. Because he was like, I'm going to stand behind the law. I'm going to make y'all tell me the law is wrong. Prove it. He made them prove the law is wrong.
I feel like a jerk because I pass by that movie every time and I never watched it. And I love
watch the movie. It's a great movie. It is. It's so short. It's not even enough justice to even him.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what always gets me to look up more about a person.
It just shows his ability. Because in this particular segment of the poor portion of his life that they showed, they just showed how Thurgood won a case without even being able to speak. He was in an area that was so racist that they wouldn't even let him speak. They acknowledged him as being a represented member of the defense team, but he was not allowed to speak. But by then he already had his fame and reputation. So they thought, well, a way to minimize him, we ain't just gonna let him talk. But he showed them whether I talk or not talk, I will win this case. And so, as I said, Thurgood was great at finding the law. Yes. Thurgood was great at understanding, interpreting the law, and then making the court system have to challenge their own laws in return. Like I said, he never put his people on trial. He never even put himself on trial. He always put the law on trial. Y'all wrote the law. So now tell me how, when this language of law that was written by your ancestors, how you are able to uphold it in the manner that you're trying to interpret it today in this courtroom. And when they were forced with that, they couldn't beat him. They couldn't beat him. The man won numerous cases. The NAACP was shipping him all over the country to win cases. I mean, he was the best of the best, hands down. And, I've challenged many defense attorneys on this matter. The ones that are public offenders all the way up to the ones that you pay. Yeah. When are y'all going to get back to Thurgood Marshall routine? I've had them give me an excuse. I've had some to be like, well, we'll never be Thurgood Marshalls. I agree, you won't. But his blueprint was quite successful. And so my question is, why are you not doing the same thing? Why are you all letting loopholes come into the courtroom and be challenged, and then y'all sitting there and letting that be acceptable when you should come back and say, that says that, but here's another law that says this. So we're going to cancel out the loopholes, and we're going to get back to the basis of this law, which is that this is what the law says. I have the right to plead the Fifth Amendment. My client plead the Fifth Amendment. So what we need to understand is that how do we have a witness testimony? How do we have a confession statement when my client was saying plead the Fifth? Right. The law on the challenge is the Fifth Amendment right now. Right. Not if he did this or not. No. The law on the challenge is he plead the Fifth, but you have a confession. How? You see what happens? You see what happens? Now, again, the law is on challenge. So now they have to look at that and say, well, if he plead the Fifth, there is no way possible for this confession. So either A, the confession is falsified, or B, maybe in the percent of when his rights was brought to his attention, whatever, is that at some point he pled the Fifth, and when he did, that confession was thrown out the window at that point. Wow. And so we have to get back to knowing the law. And we can do that as Black people. We can do that as people, period. People need to know the law. I think one of the biggest things for the homeless community that we've been dealing with, their situation, is that they're not aware of the law. They're not aware of the coronavirus and the CDC guidelines and recommendations right now. Because if they were, I would see at least somebody be down there saying when the police come down to raid them, do you know you're in violation of the CDC law right now as we speak? And that we have a 1-800 number that we can call and report you to directly for violating our rights. But we don't know that. And so they get down there and they raid them and everything else. Just like when we have traffic stops. Why do I keep seeing Black people pulled out of their cars? Because we don't know our rights. We don't know our rights. You don't have to deem yourself to no search. You don't have to commit or allow a search. You don't have to do any of that stuff. Matter of fact, anything in your glove compartment or your trunk is deemed for a search warrant. Now, the car open space is available, but he ain't got no business up under your hood and in your glove box and in the back of your trunk and underneath your tire. He ain't got no business doing all that. That is a search warrant type search. And if you don't have that, then I am not deemed to give you that. But we don't know our rights. We are afraid of them. And so when they pull over and do things and you flat out let them violate your rights, now you want to be all huffy and puffy and mad, but you didn't do it to the right person. And you're really mad at the wrong person.
And as a young Black man, I remember being in those situations. I think it was 25 before I said, no, you can't search my car. Yes. I can just sit here all night and we can just talk.
Exactly.
Have this conversation all night until, you move on.
Or you could even call for his supervisor. See, that's another part that people don't know. You can ask for an officer's supervisor to come out to the call. And see, you could tell the supervisor, hey, he pulled me over for this. This is what we got to. I already said I do not deem the search or submitted myself to a search, and he's violated my right this by what's called the violation of, I believe, the Fourth Amendment, which is unlawful search and seizures. You don't have to let them search your car. You don't have to commit to that. If they proceed to do so anyways, it is under, at that time, a violation of your Fourth Amendment, and you can have that whole case and anything they find thrown out the window. Literally. I
remember a time I was pulled over. I was leaving the gym, and I was upset because I forgot my towel and my clothes because I needed to go to work. So I had to go all the way to Maryville and drive all the way back to Knoxville. So I was kind of frustrated. So I'm driving down the interstate, and at the time, I didn't realize that if a police had somebody pulled over on the side of the road, you're supposed to get over in the left lane to go around or whatever. So anyway, that's why he stops me. And make a long story short, he pulls me over. At this time, I have a 95 Impala. You know, so I fit the description of whatever you want to say I am. And he tell you, continues to tell me, hey, I know you smoke. Do you smoke? Where you smoke? I smell smoke. I'm like, no, I don't even smoke. I don't smoke, period. Like, I don't smoke. You know, my ashtray was brand new. He pulled it out after he did everything. He pulled it out. I was like, oh, okay. Didn't even, no, make a long story short, they said, I said, you can't search my car. So they said, we care if we call the dogs. So that's fine, man, whatever, man. So it takes about 30 minutes for the dogs to get there.
Keep in mind, you are on time. So did you know there's even a time limit that they can keep you pulled over?
I was on the side of Pellissippi.
They can't even keep you on the road. Yeah, see, from my understanding, I think it's 30 minutes top.
Yeah,
they have 30 minutes. It might
have been right at 30. It might have been right at 30.
They have 30 minutes to figure out what it is or ain't going to be. If they ain't got nothing, you can, like I said, again, you can start requesting for their supervisor to report to the scene at that point.
Right. So then the dog comes, and I'm like, okay, so of course, he's walking the dog around. The dog's walking towards the bushes.
Right. He ain't smelling nothing. He ain't smelling nothing.
So what's funny is he picks the dog up, sits the dog in the window, and the dog falls in the car.
Yeah, he pushed him in there. He pushed the dog in the car. Look, I've seen the routine too. I've seen him take the ball and throw it in your car so the dog's forced in the car. And I'm like, that's not him saying he found something. That's him going after the ball. Like he's doing what a trainer does.
He dropped because as soon as you drop him in, he tried to jump out.
Right. Like he didn't want to be in the car. Like it ain't no reason for me to be in this car. And it's crazy that they try to manipulate those animals. Thank God animals are a little bit smarter than humans. Because even they I ain't got no reason to be in this car, bruh. So I'm getting up out the car. Yeah.
But yeah, they and for young black men, I do get it because it's hard because they hitting us with everything, and now with weed. I know a lot of young black men smoke weed. A lot of times they may have that on them, so now they're panicking because that apparently is worse than a murder. Obviously, you see what I'm saying? So that's a lot to deal with in a traffic stop. So for you telling people, hey, you don't have to even submit to any of that stuff. You can do this, this, and this without creating a fuss and getting them shot. Yeah. It's really cool. So that's dope. You giving that information.
I was like, a couple things about marijuana. Number one, the U.S. Supreme Court deemed the smelling search law dead. Because we end up legalizing CBD. CBD is legal.
I see that all the time.
And if you ever have smoked CBD smells just like weed. Well, duh, because it's a product of the weed plant. It comes from cannabis. It is a proportion of cannabis. That's all. What it is a lower grade cannabis plant. That's really what it is. The THC levels are lower. Yeah. So the smell and search law got thrown out the window because the federal government's basically like, if we're going to be letting weed be legal and then we're legalizing components of weed, you can't really test anything. There's no way for you to say, give me your joint. I need to find out if this is THC 0.5 or THC 10. You can't, there's no testing right now. And even if they wanted to test it, it would take weeks on weeks for the results. By the time they caught it with the test, you've been ran off and did your own thing by then. It's pointless. It really is. No doubt. So it's exciting to see areas like the Baltimore DA has, she said she's not doing any more weed cases. Like I said, the federal government has came down with the sniff and search law been dead. And then, a lot of places are going legalized with the marijuana and other things. So we're seeing that the weed thing is starting to die slowly but for surely for the most part. I mean, even here in Tennessee, Rick Staples has proposed a marijuana legalization bill as well. And so it's a thing. It's become a market even. I mean, and that's what's frustrating, I think, for me more than anything actually is watching this one thing be illegal and used to criminalize black people for years on years. And then they turn around in a couple of years have made it into $1 billion industry, but people are still sitting in jail for legal weed. So it's like we should be letting the weed people out and a long time ago. They should have been let up out of there. Exactly. And so the fact that we have well, whatever. This just went off, but it's okay. But the fact that we have again, like I said, we have a legalized weed market and people sitting in jail for that. It's extremely infuriating. And this is where I feel like, again, we as the people have to step up because I don't think there's been enough pressure put on the political scene or the leadership side of it or even the whole system of that design. It hasn't had enough pressure put on it to say, hey, You all are profiting from this. You're profiting so good it has made itself into $1 billion industry, and you even actually doing now consider what is free trading market. You know, you can buy weed stock online and stuff now. And so the fact that it's moved into this full e-commerce system, and you still got people sitting in jail is not making sense anymore. And so again, we get back to racism and white privilege and the systematic oppression again. Because who's sitting in jail for weed right now? It's a lot of black and brown people sitting in jail. Ain't a whole lot of white people in jail for that. It's a lot of black and brown people in jail for that. And so again, it's a form of our institutionalized slavery, it's our institutionalized racism, it's our institutionalized oppression, and it's just what the system has always been designed to do: find a way to depress and oppress those that they fear or don't want to have power control by destroying the black family, destroying the black neighborhoods, and keeping our men and women and our children even locked up in that system. And so again, this comes back to the vote, vote, and to get back to the politics. And so I'm going to try to wrap this up because we kind of been burning some time.
Well, before we wrap it up, but just kind of change subjects real quick. Everybody come on the podcast. I really need to know top 5 rappers of all time. Yeah, I know, right? Curveball. Yeah.
Top 5 rappers of all
Everybody
time.
come on the podcast. I need to know, and it needs to be in order too. 5 being the least, 1 being the greatest, and it don't matter if they got 1 line, 1 verse, whatever.
All right.
Who you got in the deck when you getting ready for to tell the people something. Yeah.
Well, I'm from old school rap era. I'm before all of these littles popped up.
I don't know them either.
I'm from all of that era. So my number 5 is going to probably be Mos Def.
Ooh, that's a new one.
My number 4 is going to be Talib Kweli.
Ooh, okay.
My number 3 is going to be Nas.
Okay.
My number 2 is going to be Tupac.
Ooh, okay.
And my number 1, man, it's hard for me to decide because it's always a number 1 between Biggie and Big Daddy Kane. I love me some Big Daddy Kane. I'm going to go Big Daddy Kane because Big Daddy Kane was the originator of the gangster rap and the drug rap music type ordeal. Like, he really birthed that, really brought that out. So he was the first one to talk about selling coke on a mic. Like, real talk.
Well, they said, someone said, man, you don't never smile. No, that's Rakim, never mind.
Yeah.
Rakim says, I ain't no joke.
I ain't no joke. Nah, Big Daddy Kane was the first guy ever say something about selling coke and wearing gold off of selling coke. So that's why I said I think Big Daddy is the originator of gangster rap before NWA, even before NWA. Because if you look at NWA style, they was actually copycatting Big Daddy Kane style.
You say that? They were.
The big chains, the Kango hats, like that was Big Daddy Kane and the gold rings, and all of that. As I said, Big Daddy Kane is the birth of gangster rap. So Big Daddy Kane is actually my number 1 because I feel like all of them, I don't care who you talk about, he was the first cat to say, I sell coke. I was like, what? Did he just say that? I mean, so Biggie didn't originate no coke music. He originated drug music.
No doubt.
So that's my top 5.
That's what's up. But yeah, I'll let you wrap it on up though. I just had to get that off.
And so, do you want me to do the high schooler thing yet, or you want to?
No, we're gonna do that in the game.
I got you.
I do a game from the whip.
Yeah, my bad. I'm sorry. I thought I was ready for that part. So to wrap this all up, what I want to leave off with, we talked about a lot of things, and we have definitely talked about the black people and the system that we are in, and how we are dealing and surviving in it. Because that's the thing, we are thriving and surviving in the system.
And before you go, I want everybody to realize too, it's not all about Black Lives Matter, but at the end of the day, we just want equality. So
no, it does. It is Black Lives Matter.
Well,
it is.
It is. But I'm just saying, everybody gets wrapped up in the title.
Well, that's the problem. See, you're going to maybe come back to, so we can't wrap up just yet. So we're going to talk about that. Being pro-black, Black Lives Matter, Black unification, these are not racist agendas. They're far from that. They are not. That's not the thing. Here's what I tell you all the time. It's only when Black people want to come together and do something that it's an issue. But yet, even in American culture, we adopt fellow ethnicities' culture. For Chinese or for Asian Americans, the Chinese New Year. I don't see nobody telling the Asians, oh, you can't have Chinese New Year here because that would be all about the Asian people only. We don't hear that, right? Then we have St. Patrick's Day. Exactly. It's Cinco de Mayo. We have the Ramadan for our Arabic nation. So it's crazy. We have all of these different cultures that we practice and celebrate their cultural heritage and identity, but we don't hear nobody telling them that they're racist or that they're being a hate group or they're out here spreading fear to communities because they're not one of them. But when we say, okay, well, can we get Juneteenth? Oh, that's a racist holiday. Why are we celebrating that for? Well, it's a holiday of when slaves were actually free, and it was the official signing date, June 19th.
Wow.
June 19th, Juneteenth. And so that was the day that the last set of slaves in Texas were informed that they were free. It was also the same day that the Emancipation Proclamation was actually signed into order. It was typed up and written, but Lincoln didn't sign it until June 19th. Wow. So that is an example of a holiday that we need to celebrate. Now, I think it's ironic that we celebrate Memorial Day. Memorial Day was founded by black people. See, that was how the slaves celebrated their dead from Civil War. That's how the slaves celebrated our soldiers that had fallen in Civil War. Because again, we have always been oppressed. And so when it was time for our ceremonial burials of our soldiers, because they were black, they wasn't given military ceremonies of burial. So a way for us to honor our fallen soldiers who fought for the freedoms of our rights and our livelihoods, we created what is known as Memorial Day. Hilarious part, the federal government adopted it as a whole national holiday. So, but I mean, same thing with Black Panthers. Black Panthers had 61 social services programs, and American government kept like 20 something plus because they were so good, we even adopted them. One of the most famous ones a lot of people don't know about is WIC. WIC is originally from the Black Panther Party. They created that. I had already made it. Government copycat and called it WIC, which was women and children. Yeah. True story. And so this is, like I said, they put the truth right in our faces. We just don't do our part. And you know what it comes down to, black people? We don't read. We have to read. We have to read. And I want to put that mess out there for you. Now, this is something I have to really say to the black people. Y'all can go on YouTube and Google up any fight that Lil Baby them done had, or the latest Superman dance that Soulja Boy done dropped, or if you want to see what what's his name from Wildin' Out have to say about whoever, y'all can go find that, share that, spread that in a heartbeat. But if I ask you all, who is Marcus Garvey or who is Patricia Lumbumba, most of you all have no idea who I'm talking about. That is sad, black people. And that is also the part of the agenda. They want to keep you distracted. They want to keep you not focused. They want to have you not where your mind and your heart should be. They want you caught up in foolishness and nonsense on a consistent basis. You all have got to start reading. Stop letting someone tell you everything. You know, history has been whitewashed horrifically. It's a lot of lies in history, and history breaks down into two words. You know the two words of history?
His story.
Exactly. Now, the question I always ask people, who's telling your story? Now, look on my bookshelf. You can see who tells my stories. That's who tells my stories. Yeah. And so that's the reality. So for black people, you have to start letting the black historians tell you the story. The miseducation of the Negro, you need to read that. The message to the black man, you need to read that. The ties that bind the African conscious, the African-American conscious to the African conscious. You need to read that. We need to read these books because these are our historians telling our stories. The ISIS papers, read that. I mean, you know, I'm serious. Like, read the John Henry Clark story and the dialogues that they have, the Dr. Amos's and many others who have made their whole life dedicated to telling our stories. If you haven't seen Hidden Colors, watch The Hidden Colors. It's a whole documentary. You don't have to read it, but we have to get more connected to who we are and our roots and our culture. I always call myself an American African because I say that because my culture is American, but my roots are African. So therefore, I'm an American African, not an African American. It's the opposite.
I used to always hate checking that box. I've never been.
Well, we're going. We are going. We're going to go back to that because at the end of the day, Africa is the civilization of life. If you are a melanated person, you came from there at some point.
Oh, no, I understand all that, but I'm just saying as far as just like I feel like I'm an American, just like any other person is, because the white people didn't find America. They just found America.
No, the slaves brought them over here. Black people already been to America. We'd already been running through this thing. That's what I'm saying. But black people need to accept your African culture. You need to accept that, embrace that. And see, to me, that's the sad part, is that you embrace your American culture, but again, you can't tell me where you come from.
You know, I can't.
Now, so let me tell you something about the white people. If you ask white people where they come from, they can tell you. Oh, I'm from Ireland descent. Oh, we're from Australian descent. Oh, we're French or British descent. But if you ask a black person, where did you come from?
Tennessee.
Exactly. You see the problem?
Yeah,
we don't know where we even come from.
Wow.
And so that lets me know there that that's why you don't claim your African culture, because you don't even know it. Crime shame is what I call that. Like I said, when I go ask other ethnicities where they come from, and they don't say Knoxville, Tennessee. They say, oh, I'm Ireland. They can even, maybe some of them can even go into some detail and tell you that I am Ireland from my granddaddy's side, and he was this and that, and we're from this land. Some of them are going mad detail about themselves. But if you ask a black person, I swear, it's any culture. Ask the Arabic where they're from, they can tell you. Ask the Asian where they're from, they can tell you. Spanish. Ask any other ethnicity where they're from, they can tell you. But if you ask a black person where they from, Georgia, California. No, brother. I mean, where are you from?
Yeah.
And it depends on if they're really not aware, not conscious. They may say something ignorant like, I'm not from no Africa. Well, technically you're not. Technically you're not. And that's a crime shame. And you know, unfortunately, that is part of the disenfranchisement and displacement of us. That's part of the agenda that was designed to brainwash us. I tell people all the time, read the books of Willie Lynch and Jim Crow. In those books, they both write that the rule number one, like there's a whole chapter. Chapter 1 is about breaking your slave, or breaking in your slave. And in the first part of that book, the rule number 1, the very first rule they tell the slave master is that, is that in order to break your slave, you have to convert them to Christianity. To me, that was a critical piece of the storyline. In order to break your slave, you have to convert them to Christianity. So that means you have to strip them of every culture of their existence and their known ability. I think it's funny now that today I watch spirituality making a comeback, but then you got these same people that used to call us the witch and voodoo doctors now wanting to be the leaders of spirituality, and they're white. I think it's funny. Like, it's saying like that's such a crazy disconnect, but whatever. But no, for real. For black people, we're going to have to do our part. We're going to have to get more educated. You know, I don't care how you find your resource of education. Like I said, most of us have our phones. Like I said, you can Google a lot of nonsense. I tell you all the time, take the same minutes, seconds, hours, whatever it is that you dedicate to foolishness. And I would like for black people to start committing 5 minutes out their day, every day, just to find out a black fact. Give me one black fact a day, literally. Whatever it is. Spend 5 minutes a day. And if you did that for the next 4 years, you'll be quite educated on your history really quick. Shout out to Dr. Gelada from UTK. He was my door to the conscious mind of the African consciousness in our state of being. I thank him so much because he's took me on that journey a long time ago. And Dr. Gelada did it to me the hard way. It was a little bit before the advancements of Google and everything had really dropped. And he used to give me books because he used to say all the time that for the few of us that become the black educated, we had great responsibility to educate our brothers and sisters who couldn't, because it's still an opportunity to be black and go into college. And he was like, the duty of us that make it through these doors, we have to go back and teach those who may never get to touch these doors. But it doesn't mean that's not an excuse for them not to be educated, because we're supposed to teach one. So it's the teach one, reach one concept. And so Dr. Gelada, when I first started taking my adventure into the African consciousness and really waking that existence up in myself, he would give me books. And he would be like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You got to go read the book. And when you read the book, then you can come back and you can have a conversation with me about the book. He's like, but you can't talk to me about it until you read the book. And at first it was like, why does he want me to do that? Why he just don't tell me? But I learned by the third book what the principle was. I was like, this is why he makes me read, because see, I get to gain knowledge for myself. And then when I come back, instead of it being a Q&A, it's a dialogue. Like, man, I did not know we were, and you know, this is like, and I'm just like, yo, what the, and he like, right. And he just drops more knowledge and gives me more books. And then next thing you know, we go from him giving me books to I'm just getting books now. I'm just reading books on my own. And now instead of me coming to see him every day to talk, I might be emailing him like, bruh, why you didn't tell me about your boy, blah. Like, you know, like for real. It was the opening of expansion of understanding and research. And that's what college teaches you. I tell you all the time, college teaches you how to be a great researcher. They don't teach you that. That's literally, they don't teach you anything. They give you the material. You got to go read it. You got to go study it. You got to research it. And when you come back, Because the professor already knows the chapter, he's going to ask questions all over that place. But if you read the material, guess what? You can answer his questions. And so that's what college teaches you, how to research. And I'm going to be honest, save yourself $40,000 and not do that. You can do free research right now for yourself. So you ain't got to spend all that money to learn how to research. But that's really what college does. It teaches you how to self-educate, literally.
Right.
So that's the key thing for me for Black people right now is we have to educate. With that education, we will be able to grow in our financial capacity, and then from that, we'll be able to grow in our political capacity, which will then allow us to unite and develop and evolve our power capability, where we can make true effective change for our future generations. One of the mottos of Sleeves4Needs is that we are trying to save a nation, if not this nation, then the next generation. And that's where we're at right now. We have to get this right so that we can pass the torch out to the next generation so that they have the keys to continue the mission forward, which is the liberation of our Black nation. That's all I got today, bro.
No doubt. Well, tell them where they can find you at.
So if you want to holler at Sleeves4Needs, you can look us up, Google us. It's the sleeve of your shirt. Well, here's my t-shirt. This is exactly how you spell it, Sleeves4Needs. You can look us up at .org. We have our own website. We're also on Facebook and Instagram as well. And then BlackCoffee is currently just on Facebook. It's still a very new organization. We just founded it last year, but it has a pretty actively growing base on the social media platform of Facebook because we are endorsing currently 8 different candidates in the federal, state, and local election. This is our way to start aligning those principles of getting political and economical power. All the candidates that I endorse are people candidates, meaning they come from regular working, everyday class folks who realized that the system was broken and that they were tired of suffering under it just as much as they were watching their fellow neighbors and community members suffer under it. All these people stand on a platform of some type of justice reform, some type of educational reform, some type of healthcare reform, and some type of community and economical and public participatory form. And the critical factor about all of these candidates is they do have a Black agenda. Like I said, Matthew Park of the 15th District actually introduced the Black agenda. And then all the candidates that BlackCoffee endorsed, we asked if they would be willing to adopt the agenda. And so they have. And so this is one of the first times in my lifetime I've ever heard candidates say, we have a Black agenda. So that's what we do. I advocate for our community day in and day out. Like I said, I'm currently participating in a city council movement in between this interview as we speak. I also go to Nashville and I lobby with our state representatives often. And one of the goals was this year to go to DC, but it looks like we got this little corona thing standing in the way. But next year we are definitely going to go to DC to advocate particularly for veteran rights. As we know, the VA has horribly performed in their services to the veterans. Every day, 20 veterans a day kill themselves from suicide with complications of mental health and lack of resources and help from the VA. And I think that's a crime shame. And it is one of the things that we absolutely have to look at when we go to Capitol Hill of getting addressed. Because the thing about the federal government is that that's direct funding into that department. It goes to nobody else but the veterans. And so to me, having 20 veterans, they kill themselves with federal funding come directly through the front door, it makes no sense. So yes, we are always lobbying for certain things that we need. And as I said before, the goal is liberation. We are looking to liberate the oppressed nation, period.
And that's what's up. And there you have it. I know there's a lot to take in, and I learned a lot today. I'm going to have to watch it a couple of times myself, but I hope you can understand how serious it is, though. Like, education is key. If you don't know, you can't change it. You can't grow from it. You can't get ahead. You're just going to always fall into the same predicament, generation after generation. What they call it, like generational curse.
No,
it's not
we have
curse.
to break that cycle. We have to break it.
It's not a curse.
And stop depending on the schools to be your sole source of education. You can get a library card for free. It doesn't cost anything to read. It is the most freest form of education you could ever receive. There are numerous public free publications that sit outside. Knoxville Focus, the Enlightener, the Tennessee something that Miss Vivian runs. I mean, numerous free publications out here. Pick up something and start reading. Start learning what is going on in your community, in your state, in your country, and around this globe. Because trust me, they all impact and affect each other. One way, indirectly or directly, they are always impacting each other.
No doubt. And there you have it. This is the hashtag I Am Who I Am podcast. This is episode 41.
I wish it was 44.
Yeah.
It's all good,
That's
though.
That's what's up. We might have to swing back through. You know what I'm saying? Maybe something to be popping around that time.
Yeah.
And we'll do it again. But don't forget, like, comment, subscribe. Shoot me some comments and some messages or whatever. And, I'll ask her. she's a book of information, and I know us. We don't want to research, so hey, ask the questions, and if we get enough of them, we might bother, and she may get on here again and answer some of them for us. But anyway, like I said, subscribe, like, comment, tell a friend, and as always, I'll be back. Yeah.
Yeah. I am who I am.